So Scream 5 only came out in January of last year, so the fact they were able to make another one in just under 13 months is kind of crazy. I was really not a fan of that film. I think the original Scream is fantastic. It's quintessentially 90s, but the meta-horror commentary is really fun and it's never overbearing. Scream 5 tried to update it for the modern movie landscape by talking about requels and being very self-aware about where it sat in the franchise. And look, for some people that's what really made the film unique. I hated it. I just didn't think it was being as clever as it seemed to think it was. I find it annoying. But with the incredible marketing for Scream 6 and just the general positive buzz, I was cautiously optimistic for this one. So following the events of Scream 5, our cast has moved to New York for college. But then another Ghostface appears. I really like the change of setting. New York just gives everything a really different feel. The slasher genre has always worked by breaking down the safety of suburban America, but New York feels like a wholly different playground, especially at Halloween. It's just such a dense location, there's so many people, and the best parts of the film are when it leans into that claustrophobia and the idea that Ghostface could be anywhere. It's just a shame it doesn't do it more. I like what's there, but I feel like they could have gone further with it. The opening scene is also really great. Like, you're never gonna top the original, and that's fine, but there are some really interesting choices that made me raise an eyebrow as to how they were approaching this, but it ends up feeling like an empty promise because the rest of the film just pales in comparison. Just like the last film, I really struggled to latch on to Sam as the main character. I just don't think the actress has the chops to pull off what's required of her character in this movie. I'm not opposed to the arc they go with for her character, but I just never buy into it. And the problem becomes really apparent when she's put next to Jenna Ortega, whose performance is just fantastic. You know, there's a reason she's blown up so much over the last year. The rest of the characters are also a bit of a problem. They're serviceable, but you know, these movies all sort of work as whodunits in a very low-key way. And in order to keep the surprise of who Ghostface is, they have to have a lot of suspects. But they really have nothing very interesting for any of them to do. Sam has a boyfriend, but his entire function is just to be a suspect. Other than that, he's dead weight. It just makes the whole thing feel quite bloated. And of course, as the film loves to remind us, this is a requel, which means legacy characters. We've got Gail returning, and it's just utterly pointless. She adds nothing to the film but the runtime. It's purely fan service. They also bring back another character from the franchise. Now, full disclosure, I have not seen Scream 3 or 4, so I did not recognize them, but just the entire way this character was introduced, you could tell they were from a previous one. There was no reason for the film to have the reverence towards her that it does. Everything about her, from her introduction to her reasoning for being there, just felt so inorganic. She's there to go, oh, look, it's her from the Scream movie. It doesn't add anything to the story. On paper, it feels like they're trying to showcase the through line of the Ghostface killings and have it connect very directly with our main character. But in actuality, it just feels like it's more concerned with what would be cool rather than what's actually compelling. All of these characters just feel like chess pieces that are being moved from place to place so they can set up a shocking twist. And look, I didn't see the twist coming, so I guess kudos, but it's just so stupid. It's there to be shocking. And look, when this is the 6th time they've done this, it is starting to get stale. Thankfully, it comes up less than in Scream 5, but the meta commentary returns and it is annoying as hell. Like, they start talking about how in X number in a franchise, anyone is up for grabs. Even legacy characters, or people you know aren't the bad guy because you saw them in the last movie. And it's like, this does not work. You know, talking about horror tropes in the original Scream works because it's talking about the tropes generally. Whenever you start talking specifically about X instance in a franchise, it's just too specific and too self-aware to the point of silliness. The whole conceit just collapses in on itself. I get that it's a nice attempt to try and update the meta commentary to keep that for the sequels, but no person who's actually concerned about getting murdered is gonna go, well, since this happened 5 times before, this means we're in a 6th film, which tropes means, like, just shut up. This franchise, like so many, has become so inward-looking that there's nowhere really for it to go except continuously back on itself. You know, the best parts of the movie are when they really break the rules of the franchise. One of the most interesting scenes, it's in the trailer so it's not really a spoiler, shows Ghostface picking up a shotgun, and it was one of the best moments because it was just so different. The film gives you like lovely little moments like that, but really does nothing to breathe fresh air into the thing as a whole. I do sound very down on all this, and I didn't really like it, but at best it does work as a movie. It's very competently put together, the kill scenes do what they need to do, and you can clearly follow it from beginning to end. And look, the fact that this was put together so quickly and turned out as well as it did is impressive. They had to write, shoot, and edit this thing in like just over a year, but that just highlights the problem with this movie. It's here to cash in. There wasn't a new or interesting take for this movie. It's just more Scream, just more, and it's boring. I'll still hold out a little bit of hope for Scream 7 because I like this franchise, I think the directors are talented, but this one did very little for me. I'd give this a decent 4.